If I confess my sins, he is faithful and true to forgive me and cleanse me. And the Bible says it's true. Let that sink into your heart and see yourself as forgiven. It's forgiven. It's done. I need not bring it up again. And so assess your situation. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Confess. One more thing. Develop a plan for the future. We see it here in verse 18 of our passage of the prodigal. He developed a plan. Here's his plan. I will get up. I'm tired of being in this pig pen. I will get up and I will go to my father and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned. Whoa, those are tough words. There they are again. I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. And that's true. Is anybody here worthy to be called the son of God? No, and you never will be, and I never will be. I didn't come because I was worthy. I come because Jesus paid my way. And to as many as received him, to them he gave the power to what? To become the sons of God. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. And that's true. But I'd just like to be one of your hired men. Let me be one of your hired men. He developed a plan. He had a plan to handle the mess he was in. And I want you to know, you and I have made a mess at times, and we regret, and sometimes we would just give anything to go back and live that over again. Oh, what we wouldn't give. And the truth is, we cannot go back and redo. You don't get a mulligan. And you get to shoot that shot again. It doesn't happen that way. I went to Friday night, I went to Soresco to a car show over there. And I had my old truck there. And these people coming up and talking to me. And I took my dog. And so he was an added attraction. And people were talking to me about my dog, talking to me. And I had more old guys come up to me and say, man, I had a truck like that one time and I sold it for, and they said, that was the dumbest thing. I don't know why I did that. I had more people tell me that. And one guy came up and said, I had a chance to buy a truck like that one time, $500. I didn't do that. Why didn't I do that? And of course I'm thinking about today's message and regret, I did have one guy come up and I was able to talk to him about Jesus Christ. He came up and we got talking and we found out we were the same age, born same year, ancient history and all that kind of stuff. And we were talking and he lives north of Lincoln. And I told him I pastored this church. I said, when you come, he's got kids in Lincoln. I said, when you come down, why don't you come over and hear me preach some Sunday? And boy, he came unglued. He said, I ain't into that stuff, man. I ain't into that religion stuff. I wrote that off a long time ago. And I said, well, what for? And he said, proceeded to tell me about his boy getting killed in an automobile accident about 20 years ago. And he said, my wife, she turned to God. I turned the other way. And man, I put my hand on that man's shoulder and I said, listen, I want you to know you can see your boy again. You can see him again. Because he said his boy was a strong believer. He said, I don't understand why that would happen to a good boy like that. And he loved God and and I said, well, then you be thankful. And I just had quite a conversation with him, but didn't seem to get too far, and he walked away, But here's a man who couldn't get over that. Happened 20 years ago, and he's still mad at God. And it's still messing him up. And it's going to mess him up for eternity if he doesn't turn around. How we have these regrets. Sometimes we regret the funniest things, and they're not really funny, but I had a regret from a year ago. A year ago, I had a beautiful yellow lab dog, and she proceeded to get going downhill, getting sick, and I took her to the vet and couldn't, spent money on her and all this. We couldn't get her well, and finally it came one evening, and I knew that night she's probably going to die. But somehow I kept hanging on, thinking, well, maybe, and I should have taken her in and had her put down. I didn't do it, and I thought, well, maybe she'll turn, Well, it was crazy to think she was beyond that. And so I spent the night out on the porch with her, and all night long she suffered. And I'd already called, and for emergency vet, it was $120 to put a dog down, and it was $60 at the regular vet. And so me being the tightwad I am, I suffered with her all night long, her suffering. And the next morning, I got my wife up. I said, come with me. We got to take this dog in. I took her to the vet. I said, put her down, please. I mean, the poor dog suffered all night long. And they put her down. And, of course, I took her home, buried her, and cried, and all that kind of stuff. All to save $60. And boy, for weeks after that, I tossed and turned on my pillow and think, why didn't I just at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning just take that dog to the emergency vet and spend $60 more so poor Lizzie, who was so good to me all her life, didn't have to suffer for more hours. And I just kicked myself for that. I didn't know I was going to tell you that. That's stupid. But anyway, isn't it funny the things we regret? The things we regret. And I regretted that for weeks. I walked by her grave. Sorry, Lizzie. I'm so sorry you suffered. I talked to her, So sorry you suffered, honey. Because she was the best dog God ever made. And now I'm crazy about another one. Isn't that crazy? And but regrets, we just live with them. And I'm trying to figure out where I was, trying to get back. You got me off. Develop a plan. Develop a plan, so you can learn from your regrets. I did learn from a chewing out I got from a coach. One of my heroes became Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, they called him the Bulldog. I mean, he rallied a nation in World War II and said, we will not quit. We will fight on the beaches. We'll fight on the fields. We'll fight in the cities. We will never quit. And Germany bombed England to smithereens, but they didn't surrender. And it was because of the old bulldog, Winston Churchill, humanly speaking. Winston Churchill used to say, do you know why a bulldog's nose is slanted backwards? So he can breathe when he's pulling. Don't quit. Don't quit. Romans 8:28, and we know that God calls us all things to work together for good for those who love God. Those are called according to his purpose. What is God saying? Is God saying all things are good? No. You and I have done some things that are not good. Not good. And but here's what God is saying there. He's saying God can make good come out of even things that are not good. For God can make all things. We know that God causes all things to work together for good. And he can bring good out of bad in your life. And he can teach you from your failures. And so that he can make good come into your life. And so that he can bring his purpose in your life. Wonderful thing. Say, well, I missed a wonderful opportunity, Pastor Carl. I missed this opportunity. If I could only go back. Listen, life isn't over. Life isn't over. It's not over. God can still work in and through you. He's not done. He can still use you in a way you never imagined. He still wants to use you. Some people think, well, I messed up so bad, God's just sort of put me on the shelf. I'm done. No, not at all. Not at all. Jesus said, I came that they might have life and they might have it abundantly.